Hello, I'm Michael Wiederman, and welcome to Mindful Professional Development. Today, I'd like to spend a few minutes just sort of sharing with you my thoughts about feedback and specifically the subjective nature of feedback and what that means for giving and receiving feedback effectively. So I like this graphic because it reminds me, there's a lot going on, first of all. Notice that the person on your right is the feedback provider. That could be you or the person you're receiving feedback from. And basically when they give you feedback or you provide feedback, you're sharing with the other person your story about that person, like your construction of what they're all about or why they did what they did and why they did what they did and so forth. And notice that the sources of data or information that influence your story, of course, are what you can observe. So the other person's behavior, and then of course, what impact that behavior had on you or other people. So it's the observables. And from there, we make inferences about the person's character, about their intentions, their thoughts, during the behavior that we observed. And notice that we don't have access to those, but the person receiving the feedback does. And so that's why many times it can feel like the feedback we receive is inaccurate because the person providing it doesn't have access to our own self-image, our own history, our intentions, our thoughts and feelings during our behavior or performance. So again, the subjective nature makes us realize that we need to be aware of these differences and what might the implication be. Well, if I'm providing the feedback, then just recognizing that I'm making judgments about that other person's intentions and character, and that maybe I should check those out, or I should share them with the other person and see what the reaction is. Have an opportunity to be open to being, corrected, or at least hear what the other person's perspective is. If I'm on the receiving end of feedback, maybe trying to be more explicit about what my intentions are, and especially if things don't turn out well, to make it clear that that wasn't my intention. I really was trying my best, or gosh, I did drop the ball on that, or whatever. And so that the other person doesn't make inaccurate inferences about our intentions or our self-assessment and whether or not we thought that we did just fine. So even though feedback is very subjective, I'm not saying that it's worthless or we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think it's just as important to recognize that other people are creating stories about us, and so getting feedback or information about those stories helps us to modify those so that those stories are more accurate. But again, that's only going to happen if we're more explicit about what's happening inside our heads. And I like this as one more sort of extension of that. So of course, this is a tennis net, and we know if we know anything about tennis, that one of the basic rules is you have to stay on your side of the net, right? You can't cross over to the other side. And so we could say that on my side of the net are all of my thoughts, my feelings, my reactions, everything that's going on inside my head. And of course, on the other side are the other person's thoughts and feelings, what's going on inside their head. So notice that if I am making inferences or judgments or assumptions about the other person's intentions or their thoughts and feelings, then I've crossed over the net. I've violated the rule. And so it's just another way to remind myself that I need to stay on my side of the net and just, focus on what I know for sure, which is what I've observed, how that person's behavior has impacted me, how I feel about it, but I can't necessarily know about their intentions and feelings and thoughts other than unless I asked for them. And so that's an important part, I think, of the feedback process as well, is making it a dialogue rather than a monologue or judgment. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.